I'm Lee Bristow, host of Saros Insights and Director of Cyber and AI Governance. At Saros, we partner with the world's most recognized brands to make the complex simple. My aim is to deconstruct the strategies of Ireland's top business leaders, from AI governance, digital transformation, and some that are even scaling through acquisition. We're playing a bigger game, uncovering the human stories behind the technology. Welcome to our show. Today, we're chatting with Cillian Kelly, Group Head of Digital Project Delivery with Sisk. Welcome, Cillian. How are you doing, man?
Lee, I'm keeping well. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I think one of the things while I was doing some research around you was looking at your career from 2008 as an architectural technician. And then we chatted a couple of weeks ago, and your new role, you're leading 70 people. What do you think the 2008 version of you would have been most surprised about what you're doing today?
Probably that my role that I'm doing now didn't exist when I started my career. So just even to take it a step back, like that's my, I suppose, family background. I would have grown up in the construction industry. And I always had an interest in construction. But the architecture technology degree stood out to me because, the technology piece and then the architecture, I had a passion for art as well. So I went down that route, and when I studied architecture technology, the lecturer at the time, I remember he was saying is that he's going to give us the toolbox of all these digital tools from design and from BIM, and it's up to us to go and use our tools the same as if you were a carpenter. It's up to the carpenter to go and make something of his skill set. So at the time leaving university, it was the recession. So there was no work for architectural technicians. I applied for architecture companies all across the country, no responses. And Sisk were actually building a project just in Monaghan. So I'm from Cillian County Cavan, and it's just beside me. So I was working in the family business in a hotel at the time, and I used to go over with my CV to Sisk, I remember, every Tuesday for 7 weeks. And again, Sisk was in a position that they weren't taking on many staff because it was a downturn. But I got on quite well with the security man, and after a while, he was kind of feeling sorry for me because they kept coming over with my CV. But I knew Sisk, the company, and they were just after building the Aviva Stadium, and that's the type of company that I wanted to work for, kind of bringing on the family legacy of construction. So I eventually, the security guard got me in to talk to the contracts manager, and they gave me an opportunity. And really just starting as a labourer on site. I went in with a portfolio. They weren't interested. They were like, look, we don't want to see your portfolio. Just what can you do? And I had the construction background. So I started on site, helping out the engineers, setting out, kind of labouring, doing concrete cube testing. But I knew that with the skills that I have and that I learned during university, that I could bring that to the construction site. So in the evenings, I would take the drawings that we had on site. I'd go home, I'd draw that up in 3D, develop out a BIM model. And eventually that got seen by one of the regional directors. He actually gave out to the contracts manager, was going, why, who's paid the architect to do these 3D renders? And they were like, no, it's that young engineer that's out there. He's after doing those drawings. So he goes, right, I have a job for him. And the next thing I was sent to Dublin. So I was that's where it all kind of kicked off. And I was working in Dublin on pre-construction kind of work with him. And at the time, then you would have had the BIM mandate come into the UK. So all of a sudden then 3D, I suppose coordination, collaboration, information management started becoming mandated in the UK. And I had that kind of knowledge and background. I also, I would have kept myself trained up and upskilling with the related standards and where the industry was going. But there was a mandate in the UK that was now mandating this new way of working, on this kind of collaborative way of working. And by chance, I got to work on a life science project as the first BIM engineer within Sisk. And from there, kind of just took off. And we delivered one project for a large client, Allergan Biologics 2. I moved to Westport for 18 months, delivered that project, large pharmaceutical project. But I went in and I would have trained and helped the supply chain upskill as well. So at the time, I rang around a couple of college friends that had similar positions, and one started with mechanical contractor, one started with the facade contractor, and we all started designing and coordinating in 3D for this large pharmaceutical plant. And the industry started moving at the same time. So after that, a lot of opportunities started coming in, and the team grew from there, really.
I really love the story about the fact that you went to the site every Tuesday with your CV, and that doggedness is what kind of led you into your career ultimately, right? It was the fact that you weren't going to give up, you weren't going to be taken off your path that you had selected to be on. And I really love that. And I think that kind of leads me into the next question, which is you built out this career in hands-on work, building out these 3D models. Just take us through the journey of leadership. So how did you transition from the doer to somebody that would be able to guide the board in terms of a digital transformation? What was the core skill that you needed to be able to move from there to today?
Yeah, well, look, again, it's kind of personality traits. When I was playing football, I wanted to lead the team. So when I started kind of playing football, I wouldn't have been the best, but I could motivate the players. I'd turn up the training, I'd put in the extra work. And then I just transferred that over into the professional industry. It's the same when you have a leadership sort of mentality and you want to lead and motivate people. That's really kind of how it would have started. So I suppose on the leadership piece, I'd never stand up and say that this is all my work and that I've done all this. It's what I try and do is build a team of people that, that they're the best in the industry, that they're industry experts, and that I work with them and I'm in the trenches with them working to make sure that we're in it together. And by doing that, you create a leadership. And then putting yourself in those positions, that's kind of where the leadership role would have came from. So as I said, when I worked in Westport, I would have been kind of independently working by myself as a BIM engineer. But after that project, again, we got the opportunity to hire more people. So the people that I hired are still with us today. They're leading in either data centers or in life science across the country, but it's those leadership roles. So that's a key part of what I try and do is create a team that I can trust, that I can build momentum and motivation in what they're doing. I can trust their work, they can trust my direction. And then when you have a team that works with you, you're all, you have the same vision. And it's a lot easier. Whereas if you tried to go on a solo run and you're doing it by yourself, no different than if you're in football, you're not going to achieve the goal that you're looking to do. So that's kind of how I try and build a team and create the leadership role. So from there to get to kind of the group head of digital project delivery role would have been the company would see the influence, and it's a lot of hard work. I'm in the company 14 years now, so it does take a lot of hard work and grit to kind of get to where you need to be. But I wouldn't say that I'm the finished product. I'm still learning. We're still building the team. We're still hiring the best people in the industry. To build a team that people are proud to work for and that they're motivated. And we got people from all across the industry working internationally now. Like there's people all across Europe, all across the UK, and people coming from all parts of the world to bring their skill set, and we can learn from them. So like I do a lot of work with third level and going back to universities, but I always kind of have a passion for that because the younger talent coming through every year, there's a new, I suppose, skill set and a new bit of innovation that we can learn from them. So that's where you try and encourage like a DPD graduate program. It's the overall Sisk graduate program, but we brought in digital project delivery roles into the graduate program. So we offer positions to graduates that they can come through, and when they're coming through, I'm always interested to see what's the new thing coming out of universities. Like that's where I would have learned my trade and my kind of awareness around BIM and digital. So it's always good to see what's the tricks and what's kind of happening with on the student front, because it does slowly then become into a professional workplace gradually. So.
Yeah, I really liked your sports metaphor when you brought up your leadership journey. So it's very much a collaborative one, but if you kind of extend that sports metaphor, you need the seniors with the new fresh players coming up to be able to kind of create a complete team so that you don't end up in a situation where you're stagnant?
Yeah, look, and it's the mentality that I try to, when I'm talking to a managing director of a business unit and we're trying to build a team.
Yeah.
What I try and say is we want to bring in grassroots. So it's very similar to how you'd build a football team or how you build a club. Is you need that grassroots coming through. You need the younger talent coming through, because what that allows is then the people that is in the business, it allows them to step up and give them career progression, bring the younger cohort through. Yeah. And then you have more senior leadership roles where they're managing a wider team, and if they wanted to continue on in the digital aspect, or wanting to go into either project management or operations, or even step into a different career, they've grown a team and they've had that leadership within their own business units. So within Sisk, within my role, that we have multiple business units, where each business unit has a specific sector or region that they look after. So for instance, as I mentioned, data centers, it's a key part of the business, and we're working all across Europe, and it kind of originated when we were at one stage we were just working in Dublin, but then a lot of the Irish supply chain are working all across Europe, and we bring a lot of our subcontractors with us. Life science and pharmaceutical, large part of the business. We're also now going into a look at the break ground in the States. But again, it's been really interesting because the clients that we're working with, it's repeat business. They're learning from us, we're learning from them. So we have that partnership with our clients as well. And then looking from infrastructure right across both the UK and Ireland, big pipeline of work. So it's really exciting place to be in infrastructure at the minute. And then we have Ireland East, which is the Dublin area. Again, a lot of key projects. We're just beside Wilton Park. So it was really, I suppose, good client to work with. iPut, they had a forward-thinking vision of how they build a digital smart building. And we got the opportunity to work with them and deliver that project. So it was, it was really, I suppose, a key project that we were able to implement our digital strategy on.
So let's talk about the Sisk headquarter project, because I think that's a really good example in terms of how your team, your digital delivery team, actually became the customer within the build of that HQ. And then you used your 3D models, you used the digital twin, you overlaid that with the required data to be actually able to create real sustainable changes inside Sisk. Yeah. Talk us through that particular project.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, look, I'm just over 14 years in Sisk, kind of starting from the trades right up to now the current role that I have. But in all of that time, Sisk, we were never the client. Yeah. We were always the main contractor, the GC, delivering a project based off the project requirements. We'd go in, we'd talk to the client, talk to the design team, and we would deliver those projects based off their requirements. Whereas with the new head office presented a unique opportunity for Sisk, and both for me personally, because it was the one project where we could actually develop out the client requirements and be both the client, the contractor, and now the owner and operator of facilities management team. Yeah. So it was key to kind of build out that strategy, because I suppose it's the part in the industry that I think there's a gap there, that the awareness isn't there of the full potential of digital infrastructure within a building. So within that project, we set a brief that we wanted to create a smart digital twin. And at the time, I would have developed out an employer's information requirements, and how within that document, we outlined that we wanted it to be a BIM project, that we wanted it aligned with ISO 19650 for information management. Yeah. It was a retrofit, so it was an existing building. So we went in, we scanned the building, 3D laser scanning, and based off that point cloud scan, we then created a model. So with that model, we then gave it to our design consultants, and then they done their fit out based around the model that we provided. The design consultants created their model, and then we appointed an M&E contractor that we gave them a brief that they had to do their model, agreed the level of detail, and then agreed the asset information that would go into that. So that's standard enough process within the industry. But then the smart part on top of all of that is when we linked it to our building management system. So our building management system, which is common again in the industry, but it collects data points for energy, light, water, temperature, heat, humidity, air quality throughout a building. And what we were able to do was to connect our BIM model with our building management system to have that energy set. But then we also overlaid the occupancy of the building. So again, we had to go to the market and see what was the best platform to integrate an occupancy platform into the building, because we were essentially downgrading from the existing office that we had. Would have had a larger space for different departments, and we had to then go into a hybrid office where we were, say a department might have had 20 places for their staff, might have been going down to maybe 12. So in order to I suppose sell that back into the staff, we had to have a smart way of doing that. And what we have is a booking system that you can book your desks in advance of coming to the office. We have permanent desks as well, but how that's all done is that we have IoT sensors under each one of the desks, that there is an IoT sensor that will tell occupancy of the desk availability, but then also head count sensors in our meeting rooms. So we know that and like that's what we're just in the building just over a year now. So we're in the stage where we're now analysing the data that we've captured.
Yeah.
So what we have is we have both occupancy sensor information, we have energy information, and then we have our as-built BIM model. We've combined all that together, and that gives you a digital twin. So that's essentially your I suppose your framework for any client, for any industry, of how you would build a digital twin. It might be more complex, or it might have specific requirements. But if you're going for data centers and you wanted to get exact insights into the energy operations of a data center, you want to reduce that on an annual basis, the best way to do that is create a digital twin of your data center. Similar for pharmaceuticals, if you wanted to see, okay, well, what is the energy, or what is the occupancy, or what is the best production of the pharmaceutical plant, by creating a digital twin, you get the insights, you have real data to make real business decisions on. So what I'm trying to do, and what the team is trying to do, is to raise the awareness of this across the industry, so that clients know, if I want to get a smart, digital, intelligent building, I need to have the core components of an as-built BIM model, of your energy data set through your building management system, and whether it's occupancy or whether it's a different IoT platform for manufacturing, that you put those data sets together to create a digital twin. And that's really, I suppose, the vision that we have for the industry, to make it more smart and intelligent.
So I really like the point there that it was a smart digital twin. That was the biggest delta in that explanation, and the fact that you've actually been able to play that out in your own headquarters to then say, guys, this is what the real model looks like in terms of how the industry can actually move forward. Now, if you kind of extrapolate that out, say 5 years from now, so let's, as you've mentioned, you've built out your digital strategy, you've done your digital transformation within Sisk. You're now looking ahead in terms of AI and building out an AI strategy. When you take that smart digital twin and you could potentially extrapolate that out into an AI future, what do you think the best strategy is to develop an AI strategy that will support that smart digital twin?
Yeah, so with the AI strategy, we have different use cases for an AI strategy. For a digital twin, for instance, would be one use case, and that would be specific. So in the case where we're building an AI agent or an AI strategy for a smart digital twin, what you would do is, what are you trying to automate? What is the output? What is the goal of creating an AI agent? What do you want to do? Is it for energy management? Is it for occupancy? Do you want to run simulations of your building performance? And if you had a clear kind of brief of what you were trying to achieve with your AI strategy, then you can then collect all that data that you've been storing and start building out your AI strategy around that. And as I mentioned, this could be, for a commercial client, it might be on office space and office utilization. For retail, it might be, again, the retail utilization. For infrastructure, it could be traffic management. For data centers, it could be, again, the energy management on it, and for pharmaceutical, they might have a very specific need around their production lines and manufacturing. So it depends which industry and what building that you're trying to get those insights for, and then how AI could help you. Essentially, what the way we would see AI, that it would assist the people that is operating and managing the building, and it would make their jobs, I suppose, more efficient, and to get the productivity gains within their roles. That's really what the goal and the vision where we're trying to go with our AI strategy, is to really be like an AI assistant as such.
Yeah, so if I had to kind of distill that down, it's almost like a hub and spoke, where you've got your central hub being the guidance in terms of determining what are the best use cases, how can they be best governed, is the use case going to return an ROI, is there required data, and am I just potentially automating a poor manual work process or workflow process into a very hyper-scaled, poor digital process. And I think that's really where you see your role in terms of that strategy.
Yeah, because it's not standard across the industry that you have all those data sets available. So there's, large infrastructure projects, large healthcare projects, education projects that don't have those data sets. They want to create an AI agent that will give them information of their building and improve the performance, but they've jumped a couple of steps in order to get there. If they don't have your as-built BIM model with all your information, if you don't have an intelligent building management system, or you don't have your IoT devices, but you want to create an AI agent for improved building performance, it's going to be very hard to get there. You're going to rely on information that's probably going to be incorrect, and you mightn't be fit to automate that process. So you need to and it's very similar to how we've built our digital transformation strategy. We kind of focused on BIM and implementation of BIM and working collaboratively within a 3D environment, and then information management, which governs the whole process around naming conventions, around data, around flow of information, around historical data, and that's all governed by a process of ISO 19650. So it's an industry standard that we have implemented on our projects, but for a data center or pharmaceutical client, they have very specific asset information requirements. But again, you'd have to enforce and make sure that they're implemented and have strict governance throughout construction and into operations to really get the output you're trying to get from an AI strategy. And the way we look at it, your AI strategy is your North Star, and that's kind of where you want to go and the vision that you have. But there's steps you need to take in order to get there, and that's, I suppose, core to what we've tried to do. And then the digital project delivery team, from both the data management, the knowledge sharing, the BIM engineering, information management, and geospatial, they all work together really efficiently to try and make sure that there is consistency, and that the data is consistent and that it's reliable.
Sisk has developed something called the Data Academy. You're putting 200 people through that academy. So is it people from within Sisk that you're actually training up to be data analysts, essentially? So engineers, foremen, because I think that's amazing, because essentially trying to teach data analysts to be builders, that's going to be quite difficult. But teaching a builder data analytic skills, that is actually a really interesting path.
Yeah, look, I suppose within Sisk, look, there's multiple different functions, and we all try and collaborate really closely together. So you have your IT department, and we have our data team, and then we have our digital project delivery team. So we work together really closely on, I suppose, building that collaboration around data. But what the data team have kind of established is a data academy where multiple people from all across the business can get trained up, can either do a postgrad or do a course where they can actually learn data analytics and bring that into their day job. So we have really good use cases of, say, for instance, the information management team. They're kind of governance and gatekeeper of the flow of information. But we have some really key people in the information management team that are now leading on the data. analysts for the company that are building out really powerful dashboards to give us really good insights into performance, into project performance, and how we're operating on a job, whether it's flow of design information, whether it's the amount of snags we have on a project, whether it's the amount of live permits that we have. So it's a key part of, I suppose, operations. And when we were building out our digital transformation strategy over 3 years ago, data-driven or a data-driven organization was one of the key pillars, and that was one of the key objectives that we wanted to achieve. And that's only been possible by working with multiple different people, as I said, from the IT department, from our data team, and then from our digital project delivery team, bringing in the rest of the company from the operations, kind of makes all that work together, and creates those sort of new roles that we have around project controls, information management, that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have that sort of academy to bring people through, and to have that knowledge from both operations and then overlay the data analytics piece is really important.
Yeah. Everyone thinks about innovation or driving innovation is about bites, but it's actually about leadership. It's about developing out that strategy and then bringing people on a journey to achieving that outcome.
Yeah, no, in fairness, look, that's with Sisk, it's probably one of the things that I most enjoy about working with Sisk is that it's a people organization. I'm with the company over 14 years, but I'm always learning from people that say are in the company 25, 30, and finish out their retirement. So we're always, I suppose, learning from the experience across the company, and if we can help their day job or digitize what they're doing to make them more efficient in their role, they're going to be interested in what we have to say. But if we're trying to enforce a digital process that's going to make their day job longer, it's either going to be more admin for them. It's a not
Really a hard no.
Yeah, because we have to get the buildings built, and they've enough to be doing it rather than us implementing processes that don't work. So that's key to my role, is kind of making sure that we don't try and introduce a digital process that's going to make people less efficient. If it is, it's a non-runner. So we trial and test any digital process or technology that we're going to have in the company before we implement it, whole scale across the company. It's a big part, because what we found when we were building out the strategy, the feedback from site engineers, quantity surveyors, planners, design managers was that it's system overload. There's too much technology, there's too many passwords, too much login details, too many systems. We need to standardize this, we need to make it simpler. And we've made kind of key decisions to introduce new platforms to kind of make people's day jobs easier, to give them the right tools. Either in their mobile phone is now your digital toolbox that you're bringing out the site. If they need to get access to the latest drones, they need to get access to drone footage, site walk, laser scanning. By having that available on your mobile and having it secure and reliable information, it's a big game changer, because when I was starting in the industry, I was printing out drawings, and I'd be going around with a set of A3s in my back pocket, and you'd be opening them out and you'd be redlining them. So it's moved quite quickly, and the industry is changing, and so it's going to be exciting to see where it's going to go over the next 5 years.
Yeah. Moving away from, again, the bits and bytes, to part of the leadership and part of the strategy is looking at inclusion, and equity. So the building industry, being a physical industry, has been very male dominated. Do you see the transition to, let's say, almost a digital building economy, if you will? Does that open more doors for different talent to come through and creating opportunities for all genders?
Yeah, no, in fairness, look at it's a proud sort of statistic within the digital project delivery team that we're very diverse. We're probably the most diverse function within the company. We're very close to 50-50 male female within the team, and some of the the top leaders in the company, managing directors, are female. So Sisk is probably a forward thinking company. It's very diverse. but definitely from a digital aspect, we have, as I said, a good blend of talent, because it's not like, even my role, Sisk wouldn't have traditionally hired architectural technicians. It didn't exist. As when I went to Sisk, the contracts manager was like, "Are you an engineer, are you QS?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Well, what are you doing?" We don't hire, architectural technicians. That's changed. We've design managers, we've BIM engineers, we've information managers. So we've a lot of new roles in Sisk that didn't exist previously, and it's bringing in a very diverse and kind of, I suppose, different different sort of team that you would have had from a traditional company maybe 20 years ago.
If you were to consider the future of work when it comes to construction, kind of put yourself 10 years from now, and you kind of leaned into that in your previous response. Where do you think the building industry is going to be in 2035, where you've got construction, digital, combining? Do you think it's going to be more of the same in terms of where we are, or do you think there is going to come a pivotal moment where it's actually very, very different, where there's potentially even humanoid robots on the sites and that kind of stuff? Yeah. Do you see that as a potential?
Yeah, look, it's blue sky thinking, like, with robotics and automation. But in 5, 10, 20 years, who knows? That's what we're doing, is building a foundation of digital transformation, that we have a solid framework, we've good, reliable information. So if you did want to train up robotics on site,
yeah,
we have the tools in place where we can scan the job, we can train a robot in a virtual environment to walk the site and carry out tasks. That wasn't possible a couple of years ago. It's possible now. Are we doing it? No, we're not doing it today, but it is possible.
I think that's a really interesting space where, because that is what's happening right now in companies like Google and Tesla, where they're actually putting bots into, well, at least the soft components of them into a digital world to be able to train them up, to teach them how to walk, to get over obstacles, to understand their environment.
It is, and I'll go back to one of the points earlier. My job is to, stop the noise and stop system overload. If we, tomorrow, Sisk said we're going to employ humanoids and have humanoids on site, it just wouldn't run. It wouldn't be feasible. Yeah. So what I do is keep, close contact with all the industry experts, from robotics, from geospatial, from drone operations, and see where the industry is going. It's very easy to do an automated process in a factory environment. So we have, as part of Sisk, we have a company, Vision Built, and we have a lot of automation within modern methods of construction in Vision Built, and we've automation on our production lines, which is really easy to do. Well, no, it's not really easy to do, but it's a lot more controlled within a factory environment. You're on a construction site, weather, with dust, with human interaction. It's a different environment. Lots of noise and lots of health and safety risks and issues. But there is lots of robotics and automation that is slowly coming through that are going to have real big benefits. But the big piece that where I see it, it's going to be assist the workforce. It's not going to take over the workforce or to become a fully automated construction industry. It's going to assist the existing workforce that's there. It's going to give them productivity gains and make them more efficient in their roles. The big thing and the big trend, what you see if you listen to any of the kind of visionary leaders around AI, they're all predicting that the biggest well-paid trades are going to be plumbers, electricians, blocklayers, workforce. Manual tasks that people still need to do. Even that's going to be the big change that I can see happening, is that people are going to become more dependent on high-skilled trades and workforce. Yes, I suppose from a digital aspect, there is an automation and there is, a lot of things that you could build AI agents to do for a digital role. But from a trades and from a people role, they're going to become more valuable. And what I'm looking forward to seeing, the trades and it being fairly reflected in their roles as well. So like apprenticeships, that's I'd encourage, the younger generation to really consider getting a trade, doing an apprenticeship for a couple of years. You can always step in, like a lot of the team that we work with, especially particularly in our supply chain, they're coming from a background where they were either a plumber, an electrician, and then they've done a master's or postgrad in BIM management, and they've learned the digital aspect of it, but they're able to apply their construction knowledge into a digital aspect and then build their career from there and kind of manage teams. But if they hadn't have got the apprenticeship and learned their skills initially, it would have been very hard for them to accelerate their kind of career path. So it's an important piece that I think the younger generation should definitely consider when they're coming through is trades and that industry.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I agree that is one of the areas that I think AI is not necessarily going to be able to address, because it's essentially those fine motor skills and being able to actually operate in the world in those really refined spaces. I think AI and kind of big robotics would potentially be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting, as you've mentioned. Yeah. So yeah, complete change of tact. Looking at you personally, you've gone through this 14, 15-year career with Sisk. In the sort of last 5 years, it's really been around the digital transformation and actually starting to bring that leadership component. Has there ever been a moment where like the pressure of digital transformation, where it's actually gotten a lot because you've put your career on the line, you've kind of hedged your bets and said, technology is the route to go. This is the way to do it. These are the technologies that we need. This is the product. These are the data. Has there any been a moment where you felt, oh my head, I've just bitten off more than I can chew?
Not necessarily. Like that's, I suppose, what I've tried to do is to do a lot of testing and proof of concept. And if I'm going to push a process forward, be confident that it's going to work and it's going to make an improvement. We do a lot of trials and testing before we would implement, either if it's going to be a new piece of software or a new piece of technology. I'll not go and let's invest heavily in this piece of software or this technology unless I'm fairly confident that it's going to work. So that's probably, some advice that I would have been given very early on in my career is, don't overpromise and underdeliver. If you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And if you do better than that, that's a win. But don't overpromise and then underdeliver. That's so I suppose very early on in my career, there was a lot of blue sky thinking, and I had to pull it back to kind of go, okay, right, well, what's achievable? What can we do within the next 12 months? What can we do in the next 2 years? And then to try and, that's probably a bit that I know definitely some people on the team might struggle with, because I do have a lot of people that is very passionate and have, great visions around, the use of virtual reality or the use of augmented reality or the use of geospatial. But it's we can only go so far, and the company will, has to go at a certain pace. And even the industry goes at a certain pace. And I know that, there does be some frustration there of some really key top talented people in the team that are like, well, why isn't everybody, using AR and have a headset out on site? You're like, because there's a big cost implication to it, and there's health and safety, and, there's things that you have to ensure that you're bringing the senior people that have the 20, 30 years experience, that you're bringing them on the journey, and that they are going to be the people leading and backing you with the technology change. If you had it kind of going the other way, you're going to lose a lot of that really experienced people, and you'll end up with a problem where you're going to run into issues around quality, around delivery. So it's key that, I suppose, with the team, that we always keep the mindset, and that we're still always asking the questions from the people that has built these buildings before us, and that we can learn from them. And if there's something that we can help improve their day, well then, they'll be interested to hear what we have to say. But if it's going the other way around, it just wouldn't work. So
yeah, I really love that advice. Kind of bringing it back to the sports metaphor, life is a game of inches.
yeah.
And you need to compound those wins over and over and over again, and not to essentially chase away the guys on the site that have been there for 30 years, that know how to actually do the building.
Yeah, no, it is. Look, that's as I said, it's a key part. I grew up in the construction industry, like my father would have taught me, how to build, the importance of good quality work. But like my father, he would have been a main contracting firm, but essentially he was dealing with people all the time, and that's what I would have learned from how he managed subcontractors, how he managed clients, design teams, building all different types of projects. Where eventually the family business, we went into the hotel business back in 2008. So I'm in the hotel industry over 20 years, and it's a people-facing business as well. A lot different from construction, but I'm in the hotel industry, and that's even just the Arrogant Country House Hotel in Cavan is the hotel. So, but no, it's a family-run business, and my brother's he's the director managing the hotel now at the minute. But again, there's lots of digital process that we have to implement, either from a new website, from a booking system, from updating the ordering, from the stock level. It's a full. There's always digital innovation that we have to try and bring, and it's a people-facing business. So you have to, people first. Even with the hotel industry, and that's another brother of mine. He's working in Pfizer as the global head of innovation. But we talk about different things, and around having QR codes on your table for the menus and for ordering, or for having robotic check-in. And there's only so much of that you could implement and then lose your custom. And people, in certain parts of the world it might be appealing, but in the likes of Cootail, County Cavan, your local, your people aren't going to engage with that type of technology. So you have to make sure that you're implementing the right technology for the right market, whether it's the hospitality or whether it's the construction industry. It's really important that it's people first, and then the technology will come.
Cillian Kelly, the technology enabler. I think that's just going to be the title going forward. Cillian, thank you very much for coming to join us today. This has been a fantastic start to the day, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.